everybody. Hopefully you can hear me all clear. It's awesome to be here. Thank you, Marnie. We had a delightful conversation before I got up here on stage. And the conversation was basically about the fact that a huge confession, I am not your traditional marketing person, okay? I have spent 30 years in this company. Yeah, you heard me right. This year, I celebrate 30 years with Emerson. Thank you so much. Doesn't feel that way, but it is true. And when I go up on stage to get my award for service of 30 years, right alongside me is our Chief Executive Officer, Lal Karsanbhai. He's serving 30 years as well in the industry and in our company. So I have done so many roles in Emerson. I started 30 years ago. I'm an engineer by trade, so I have a mechanical engineering background, a master's in industrial engineering. So when I graduated, I was all set to conquer the engineering world within Emerson. I started actually in operations, making sure our products were leaving the factory in a very nice condition, highly accurate, and customers would have no problems with it. But I rolled on to so many different roles. I have done multiple roles. I've sat in the shoes of almost every different function that Emerson or any organization has. I think except for finance and IT, I think I've done almost every role there, mostly in sales and in business development. The Middle East experience was when, in the days of the pandemic, I didn't know it was going to happen then. In 2019, I moved to Dubai to be Emerson's leader in Middle East and Africa. Now, that was an emerging business for us. And I'm glad to say, looking back, that it's doing really well. The foundation was strong. And this is probably our largest growth market for Emerson right now. So I stand here and I'm trying to give you the voice of every other function that comes in. And I want to say, Alyssa, I don't know if she's in the room, but hats off to the speakers in the morning that the core function of marketing is definitely changing. Lal brought me into this role because he truly felt that we needed customers' needs established front and center as we move towards our marketing strategies as a company. And we were going through a lot, and we still are, which I will talk to you briefly in a few charts before heading on to my most important topic today is, and that's what gets me all excited about this role that I perform for Emerson as Senior Vice President, Chief Marketing Officer, is how we are upending everything in terms of our digital presence and our online, our website, and all of the associated digital experiences of our customers to stand up a completely new experience, modernizing our website, but really thinking through the technology stack that is going to get us to that frontier. Is that what she said? Frontier, we'd say, okay, world class, best in class, but I love that word, the frontier of where we need to be. It's the most exciting job I've had at Emerson thus far, and I have to give a huge shout out to the teams that I manage. Brilliant work done in just over a year, and we are going to stand up the new website in February 2026. And we've had a long way coming. And I wanted to share, this storytelling is about what we learned along the way as a 135-year company. So when I joined the company was already 105 years old. The brand of Emerson was already 105 years old. And to change that, to change the face of Emerson, not just in the website, but the digital experiences and the portfolio, and I'll speak to a little bit about that. So I want to go through these details, but I want to say, and I'll say this again when I wrap up, is that lead with the customer-first mindset. Injecting customers' experience into what they feel like as they go through every aspect of their encounter with Emerson was very much important to us as we took on this huge program and task. The third part was digital transformation. I think just as the speakers in the morning said, digital transformation is front and center today because of all the technologies and the strategies we have in front of us that is really helping us unlock a huge amount of wealth of how we can find customers, target them, engage with them, and bring them on into our conversations. It's just brilliant. But what Emerson is doing, when we started, of course, with tweaking the basics of automating basic tasks, but what you will see in this is really reimagining everything we do at Emerson. I will speak to the marketing piece, of course, but we are reimagining everything that brings us to it is a very competitive world out there. And to bring us into that next level, how we use that. And remember, a 135-year company. You know, a very quick view to who Emerson is, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you do not know who we are. So I want to start a little bit about the fact that we are a global leader in automation technology. We are actually pivoting to being a focused automation player. We used to be something very different when I first joined the company. We were a conglomerate, right? But now we are leaning into a lot of aspects of industrial technology, such as being software defined. Our portfolio is becoming much more software defined, AI enabled, and that is the product and the solution side of it. So imagine if the rest of our processes like marketing is not digitally transforming. That would be really bad. So we are doing this side by side as we go along. We help customers in critical and essential industries. That's why in Dubai, when everything was in lockdown, you know that the Middle East, their lifeblood is hydrocarbon and getting oil and gas out of the ground and refining it and shipping it out. So we were, of course, working 24/7 to get that continuing to grow. So that is the criticality of what we do. We have several business groups. Now, Emerson is the overbrand structure. If you look at the brand architecture, what I represent as the Chief Marketing Officer of the full company is the overbrand of Emerson. But under that overbrand, we have several signature brands, all under these categories of intelligent devices, which see and hear the sensors that see and hear things that happen in a process plant, whether it's a refinery or a petrochemical plant or a life sciences pharmaceutical manufacturing company that makes medicines, right? So we see and hear, but we also control and optimize. And now with the acquisition of Aspen Tech, we are actually doing the optimization at the enterprise level. So think about not only optimizing one plant, but optimizing a fleet or optimizing an entire enterprise of operations. So that's what we are doing, and I've never felt more excited or that the best is yet to be for Emerson. Founded in 1890, I said that to you, $17.5 billion of sales. A lot of our sales are outside North America, but North America is really kicking it for us, doing fabulous. All of those big trends of onshoring is helping us. And power, as you know, the hyperscalers require a lot of power. So we are working so closely with all the utility companies to deliver power to the nation overall. 130 manufacturing locations, one in Singapore where I started. That's home for me in Singapore, and that's where I started. Fiscally very prudent. The investors love us. We've had a great escalation of our stock prices, our market cap, because we are leaning into being software defined. Our company impact is amazing. I'll show that to you in just one more flip coming up. But from all the recognitions, I feel the biggest one was the most innovative company, because that's really what we stand for. We have done many industry firsts. We want to listen to our customers and bring them along in the field of automation. We are striving, our next big thing is striving for the autonomous plant. We spoke of autonomous agents not so long ago. What we are trying to do is offer our customers the ability to operate their plants autonomously in the future. Actually, we do it in part even today. As we lead the future of automation into this next hinterland of, automating, of being autonomous, here is a look at what we do for our customers. 25 of the top 25 life sciences companies use Emerson across that different portfolio that I just showed you. So when we were making those vaccines, yes, we were very much part of that. We control, Emerson Systems control over 60,000 wind turbines globally, thanks to an acquisition we made in Denmark, software related. And one of my most exciting things was climbing on top of one of those windmills and reaching the top and looking at the technology. Sometimes I do like to geek out a little bit. The engineer part of me comes out there. Power generation, this is, by the way, the most exciting, that 50% of North American power generation is taken up by Emerson Control Systems and software, and 20% globally. So what we do for our customers really is ensure that all of those elements of our portfolio work cohesively to provide safety, sustainability, and reliability. Imagine if the power generation company were to shut down. So we are responsible for that. We are responsible to make them keeping operated reliably and, of course, in an optimized way. Production is paramount. The production goals are paramount. Now, it was not always the way that we are a $17.5 billion company. We have done a lot of major moves in following an investment thesis. When our CEO, actually he was just our third CEO in so many years, can you believe it? He took on and he said, and we as a leadership team realized that we need to focus our ambitions towards automation. We were a conglomerate that used to do a lot of other non-core business, non-core meaning outside of automation. So we had areas like InSinkerator. I'm sure you have in your homes a little machine that grinds, the waste and takes it away. That was Emerson branded. But we realized that if we want to be something for customers, we looked at different trends and we said, the trend that we want to put our money on is automation, because the world is getting more and more automated today. So we divested nearly $18 billion of our business, and we acquired nearly $18 billion of business so as to bring forward a very exciting portfolio that we can stand up in front of investment community and in front of our customers and say, look, whatever we do today is in the pursuit of pioneering automation and being the leader in software-defined and AI-enabled solutions for our customers. The focus, obviously, on higher growth, because a lot of what you see on the top are the higher growth areas. The second is, how does it all come together as automation? That's the cohesive portfolio. And yes, profitability, but the profitability was to throw into research and development and building those innovative products for our customers right there, for the customers I showed you on the previous page. So we had now the most disruptive sensors and instrumentation. We have software-defined structures for our control system, and we have self-optimizing assets for our customers' plants, ultimately chasing the autonomous plant or autonomous operations. Very exciting. How does the marketing leader react to all these changes? It was a remarkable transformation. My 30 years ago, sitting in the factory in Singapore and trying to build this one little transmitter with a sensor that measures pressure or temperature in a plant, I'm telling you, it's surreal, because coming here 30 years later and taking the chief marketing officer role, it just feels such an honor. I feel humbled. At the same time, I was quaking when I took this job. I was like, we're changing everything. We're changing who we are as a company. We're going to be really, really focused on automation. And our customers are moving to a different technology platform. We are getting a new generation of decision makers in these plants that I spoke to you about and on these facilities, no longer are these the folks that I used to work with. These are the new generation that will need to engage and learn about us and converse with us in a very different medium, which is the digital medium. And we had to put our thinking caps on and said, how do we do it? How are we today? How are we going to take it to that frontier level? So this is how, because we are quite a matrixed company, we have different marketing segments. I have a whole group of marketing leaders within the business group that we represent. We have all the world areas who I believe, I come from the world area, so I believe the world area owns the customer, right? So they have the customer voice as well, from the Americas to Latin America, Asia Pacific, Europe, and Middle East. And the marketing segments in the enterprise that I run. So I run a small group, but we run a marketing leadership council that has voices from all across these segments as we drive direction for the company. And the marketing practice areas of marketing operations, thought leadership. How do we get our customers to understand how we are going to change their lives with the autonomous operations thought leadership, right? Measurement. How do we metricize what we do? I was just talking to Marnie that the toughest job I have is to convince our executives that every dollar spent in marketing how does it attribute to revenue? I think that's something, as we get more and more data-driven, this is going to be phenomenal for us to do. But that was one of our key objectives as we headed for this project. And of course, talent. It's something that keeps me awake at night because we are a traditional company. We have a lot of marketers who have done things in the traditional way, but we are changing the way we do things. And how do we keep our teams up to speed with that? Let's talk about how we have actually changed and evolved. Definitely brand, and I'm not just talking about the website here, so think about all the paid media, earned media, brand. You know, how are we going to move from being that industrial conglomerate in the eyes of our stakeholders, that could be investors, financial communities, it could be our customers, to being an industrial technology leader? It's a huge lift for our brand, right? Because even if I Google today, Emerson is looked at as that big conglomerate. How do we get to be known as the pioneer and the premier automation leader in the world? The marketing and communications approach, we were always in the news for buying a company or selling a company. How do we get out of that cycle and be known for the thought leadership categories that we are trying to push for? And finally, how do we enable sales? I was again telling Marnie that my most favorite person is the salesperson, because I do think that they are the tip of the spear when they go to their accounts and to the countries and to our key customers. We need to be able to speak our message and our campaigns through them. And how do we enable the growth in these different segments? Having said that, we let loose a survey, and we actually engaged. We had a process. We knew that we had to address our website first, because when I first came on board, I was still in Dubai, and Lal called me and said, look, I want you to take this job. I said, great. What's the burning platform? And he said, the burning platform is our website sucks, and you really need to fix that. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of easy. Not, as I realized very quickly. And we immediately got into almost, it was a kind of a war with the different stakeholders. There was IT in the room. There was the product group in the room. There were the world areas who said, hey, aren't you going to give me a voice in this? There were the salespeople. How do you herd these cats? How do you bring it all together? And I still believe with the lessons that I've learned is that there needs to be a single owner and a voice that drives the direction. Otherwise, it's just chaos. We did that. We named marketing as the leader, thank you, and digital customer experience as the team that would do this heavy lift of modernizing our website with the latest tools and technology. And we ran a process, Art of the Possible. with several different providers. I won't name all of them, but who ended up getting the job was Deloitte. Amazing team. We're still working with them. They kind of can, we start something and they finish our thoughts. They are so well imbibed with our process. Of course, we've worked with them in other areas in the past. So Deloitte undertook a 3-month discovery. And at the 3 months, they got us, they got names from us of customers, of investors and analysts, of our own employees, our salespeople. They undertook a huge 3-month survey and distilled a lot of feedback for us, specifically on what our digital experience that we are offering to our customers. The results were scary. They were bad. But we were happy to know that we are now looking at a mirror and we know exactly what we need to go off and do. So it was interesting. They gave us a blueprint then of how we need to address it. Think about some of those challenges that got raised at these levels, right? Site performance of the current site, constant breaking down, and the reason for that was technology debt. As you all know, as you grow up with a company that's 130 plus years, you're a very acquisitive company, you're getting a lot of different technologies coming in, and you're trying to put Band-Aids on everything and work on stuff. No way. Page load times. One of the comments in Qualtrics was, it takes minutes. How can somebody be willing to stand there and watch the page paint for minutes? It's got to be in the seconds. Usability. Our customers were so frustrated that they would land on a page, organic search, they found us, they are looking for something very specific, but once they land, they are in a maze. They have no idea why we're talking about sustainability when all they're asking is for a 3-inch valve. So it was an eye-opening thing for us when Deloitte and the team told us about what happened here. Now, I told you about the tech debt, but the development backlog, believe it or not, was greater than 5 years. Because I don't know about B2C, but B2B, the architecture of the website is very monolithic, right? And with that, we have 5 business units. Certainly, some of them go to market with more of a digital approach than others, but they could not make changes. They had to wait for the slowest one to catch up. It was not acceptable. We had a lot of very upset people in the group, and we had to bring them all together and say, let's change it. And of course, the high cost of maintenance. Why? Because the old technology that we are working on today, we haven't gone live yet. So the old technology was something that we didn't even find the right skill sets to work on some of the issues. They were long gone, the technology that we're using today. So it was a lot of very interesting, challenging problems that we were facing. And when we went to Qualtrics, yes, they were saying exactly the same thing. They couldn't navigate on our site. They couldn't find contact information efficiently. Even the Contact Us page was giving them a headache, right? And they would just exit. They would configure some of our parts, and then they would abandon the cart because the page load was taking forever. Can you imagine the nightmare? And brand navigation. There's a statement there, I'm an engineer and sites like yours cost us money by wasting my time looking for information. So this was a hard pill to swallow, a very bitter pill to swallow, but I think it was very eye-opening for us, and we went in with a lot of gusto. So we ended up saying that our charge as the same marketing group that I work with, right? The marketing leadership team that was getting frustrated, this is our charge. We have to say that our frontier vision is to drive a very super high quality omni-channel experience, brand experience. It doesn't matter how our customers reach us, it has to be consistent. And be mindful that the industries that we work in, They are not, my digital commerce numbers are not as high as some of what you can imagine, right? We do a lot of our sales in a very physical world. Customers want us to sit across and talk about it. Why? Because these are products and solutions that are controlling mega multi-million dollar plants, right? And they can cause safety issues. They can cause emissions into the environment. So they're not all going to jump in with a credit card and order stuff on our website. However, the omni-channel experience has got to be consistent. It doesn't matter. This phygital world that we live in, we've got to be able to make it consistent in terms of a brand experience. And that was very key. But also customer first approach. Who are the personas we are talking to? What is a day in the life of these personas? How are they walking through our websites? How are they finding us? And then the innovative technology, which is phenomenal. The core marketing initiative, I had many, by the way. This is just one I'm highlighting today, but the corest of core, when I came in July 23rd, I moved out of Dubai and I landed in St. Louis, Missouri. I said, well, let's get this done. You know, it was about creating that world-class digital experience, and the arrow was on Emerson.com. How do we re-architect the site to improve experience and energize that whole e-commerce journey of our customers? This is the team we pulled together. I'm telling you, I've never seen something quite like this. I'll tell you this only because in 2009, when we first set our Emerson.com 1.0, it was a very tough journey. We did not have a team like this. In the sense, of course, as you grow older, you mature and you know the mistakes, you learn from them. But this is the entire project team for Emerson.com 2.0, if you will. So we have a lot of, we have separation between the technology piece that IT is enabling versus the design teams that marketing is leading versus the product pieces. Who owns the catalog? Who owns the products, right? Who owns the solutions? Who owns the customer's journey within the website? That's the business owners. We brought them all together in a sort of an agile methodology, which I think is so much better than the waterfall methodology that we did, which was sequential. So it was amazing. 17 sprints. We are nearly running to the end of it. I think we're on sprint 15. And we're working on all of this with advisors. Deloitte is part of the architecture review board, but we have all the vendors, the technology folks that we chose. We took away some of the old technology and we put in the new technology, and they are part of our teams as well. So this is the dream team. I really would like to call them the dream team. And every time they come to St. Louis, which is quite often when they do the SITs or the system integration tests, I spend some time to go happy hour with them, because these folks, my God, they are not only doing this, but they're also keeping the current system, keep the lights on in the current system, in the current Emerson.com. So phenomenal work. So what is it that we have actually done, right? This is a current state, which is happening even now, and then this is the future state. I think I have cried out enough to you about the current state, what is not working, poor discoverability, site abandonment, monolithic solutions. So our faster moving businesses are being held back by the slower moving businesses, but we have a cohesive brand experience to tell the story to, right? The future state, we have moved from a monolithic to a composable architecture. We have given the businesses ultimate autonomy to go off and do their thing. However, the technology we chose, Adobe, which creates the content, which helps us create content, is a very collaborative tool. And it's going to help me, as the Chief Marketing Officer of Emerson, keep that consistent brand language, brand tonality across creating the content. It's phenomenal. By the way, I was one of the biggest skeptics, because I've been, like I said, 30 years. I've always grown up as, oh, one Emerson, one Emerson. But I do see that it's possible to be one Emerson and not sacrifice the uniqueness of each of the business units that we have within our portfolio. agility and autonomy, so they can, future enhancements and features, scalability and performance. Clearly, the performance is going to be, okay, I'm crossing fingers when I say this, out of the charts. I have one dashboard to show you that I'll be watching it like a hawk as we go live, right? Because if one business fails in something, the other one is going to not be dependent. Whereas in the previous case, it was highly dependent. Future-proofing. We are an acquisitive company. So as we bring in other companies, how do they blend in with this composable architecture? It is very possible to do that without too much of a fuss. And faster time to value. Remember that I talked about ROI? This was my pitch to Lal about ROI. This is why you need to give us the big dollars, because it's going to enable much faster time to value. And the regression tests that can be done at a much, much faster pace in smaller chunks. So we are very, very excited to go forward. This is sort of the results as we speak, right? You all know this. We have the measure of good management is in the story points, right? So we have 10,757 story points. And apparently for B2B, this is considered quite complex. But we did this with very little, minimal customization. So whether it's in content, I just realized I have only 2 minutes left, 2.5, content or search. The biggest part was in registration. Customers would come in, they would try to register, and they would wait for hours. So now that's going down to 1 to 2 minutes. Guided selling by better practices of digital marketing. Go live February 2026. I'm really, really looking forward to this. This is the tech structure that we have put in place. So if you look at the Emerson.com level, Adobe for seamless, consistent content management, keeping that brand experience, Coveo, AI first already, AI-enabled search, which helps customers navigate easily and prevent them from abandoning the site. Of course, Salesforce, all the Gartner top right-hand quadrant companies, Salesforce for our commerce engine, which enables faster sales realization. We're not going to stop there. This is till February, and then we are already working on what more can we explore with targeting, with personalization, with omni-channel enablement, with commerce experience, as well as with multi-channel communication. So when a customer calls, today they go offshore and they get a bunch of emails. They don't go to the right person. So how do we deflect them, bring them into the right person who can handle this? It's going to be super exciting. This is the dashboard. I just wanted to bring you down to this. I told my digital leader, give me one neck to choke. Give me one dashboard that I can look at and say, whoops, what's happening with this business group? Why is it we have spent millions of dollars? Why isn't their commerce dollars up, digital orders up? Let's go deep into that. Look at and none of these numbers are real. I mean, it's fictitious, but here are the digital hand raisers. How are we doing as far as digital leads? How is it going down through all the funnel? Digital engagement, right now at about 30% abandonment, which is apparently still decent, but we want to go down to the low 20s. Conversion metrics, the conversion metrics, by the way, was, I don't know what it is today, but we are trying to get conversion of at least 50%, which is a tall order, but we are doing this. We're trying to do this with, good call to actions and all of the best practices in digital marketing. Operational metrics, 99.99% uptime all the time. So that's the dashboard that I'm going to be looking at every day from February. And making sure that I'm getting there. So that's all I had, folks. This was just a summary chart. And I want to leave with that. It's been a phenomenal experience. I'm still living through it, but it was wonderful to share it with all of you. Thank you.